Hello, hello. It's Friday evening. It is so wonderful to be back with you. I really missed everybody last Friday. I was away with my family. It was really lovely to have the time away, such precious time for the bank holiday. But you know what? I was wandering around at 6 o'clock and I was saying to my family, it's really weird not being in my tiny little room at home, talking to you all and talking to some wonderful mediums. So hello to everybody who's here this evening watching live on my Facebook page. Hello to everybody who's watching live on YouTube, and hello to everybody who's on catch up. It's really good to have you here with us. And it's my absolute pleasure to say hello for the second time today to the lovely Iain Mason. How are you doing, Iain?
I'm very well, Ashley. Thank you. Thank you for having me here. It's a pleasure and a privilege to be here and to be with you all as well. So hello, everyone. Happy Friday. Hope you've had a lovely day.
Yeah, thank you. And you know what? I'm really buzzed. I'm really looking forward to this evening. We had a really good kind of catch up this morning and just talk through loads of different things that we've got in common and similar thoughts about things that are going on. And so I'm really looking forward to coming back with an absolute bang this Friday to talk to everybody. Hello to everybody who's come online. There's loads of you. Lovely to see you all. Hello to Lorna Gray, Amanda. Hello to lovely Leslie. Lovely Jamie. Hello, Jamie. Fab Sue. Hello, Sue. To Wendy. Oh, okay. She's just letting you know she's just getting her dinner out on the table so she'll watch and catch up. Don't worry, Wendy, it will be on Facebook, so don't worry, you're not going to miss out. Hello to lovely Reverend Kevin Lee. Howdy, how you doing in Florida? Kev, lovely to have you with us. Hello to Paula and hello to Amanda. Amazing, lovely to have you all with us. So it's your time this evening. It's Friday evening. For those people that are new here, my name's Ashley and I'm going to be your guide through this evening. I'm going to be hosting the lovely Iain, fielding your questions. If you have any questions or reactions to anything that's discussed this evening, put it in the comments box, say hello, tell us where you're from and kind of what you're feeling about what's being discussed. And we will put all of that to Iain in the hot seat to answer live and direct this evening. Okay, so this is the place. Hello to Letty, hello to Doug and Dean. Oh my goodness, there's so many of you. Mwah, so lovely to have you with us. Okay, everybody, grab yourselves a drink, make yourselves comfy, and we will be back with you in about 30 seconds. Okay, so Iain, what have you been up to today and how has your day gone? And what kind of things have been floating around your head from the spirit world while you've been spending some time quietly preparing? What's been going on around your head that spirit wants to talk about this evening?
Well, a lot of it is about purpose. It's about forgiveness, and self-love, and really all wrapped up in a big label that's quite important right now for these times we're going through called transformation. Not what we think we're doing, you know, hey, if I just have a different breakfast, I've transformed, I'm a different person. It's much deeper than that. And it's also understanding how we do transform and also the thought about stopping the monkey mind, as we call it. So, you know, the first thing people do is, you know, they often say, if you speak with people about meditation, they say, well, I can't do that. My mind's always flipping out when I close my eyes. And I know when we spoke earlier on today, and one of the things that we shared was, you know, we're going to do a little exercise at some point to just change a few things around with some energetic amplification. How about that? Can't spell that word on a Friday night, but it sounds real good inside and strong when it comes out. But yeah, so it is really just to share some tools and tips to give people a little takeaway to go and practice and help themselves get on their way with a capital W.
Love that. Love that. Yes, and that segues really nicely to the question I was going to ask. And anyone that watches knows me, I like practical spirituality. because that's the only benefit that we are going to have in this life, is if we can find ways to embody and utilize all of the spiritual knowledge that's out there. So it becomes less of an abstract concept and we're actually living it. On that note, you describe yourself as a way guide. And do you know what? That really resonates with me with the whole interfaith philosophy of it being just illuminating the way. What does it mean to you, and how did you come up with that?
I have absolutely no idea. It was channeled to me, and it was a question when I first had it on my business cards and things like that. People said to me, well, what's that? And I said, I don't know. And my initial response was, I just want to find my way home. And what I didn't realize was that on a deeper level, I was asking to be guided back to myself, self with a capital S. And there's a beautiful saying. I was sharing it with my lovely friend Bev Mann, another great medium, earlier on, and we did a little energetic exercise where she laid down, and I just had this lovely little saying, and it's a quote I think I picked up somewhere along the way. You know, you do so much work, you read so much, you don't always remember the true sources. So I'll have to quote it as an unknown. But if you ever feel that disconnection in whatever way, maybe a loved one has passed, or you're feeling out of sorts yourself, if you just close your eyes, so here's exercise number 1, impromptu. If you just close your eyes and bring back a really loving connection in your heart or in your mind's eye, and you visualize it, and you just allow yourself to feel that that melting ripple of love flowing through you. If you hold yourself in that space and place and just hear these words, wrap your arms around me and you'll know you're home. Because you see, when we were little, if we fell over, that's what our mums did for us. You know, if we fell over and grazed our knee, you know, back in my day, we got up, we went home, we had the knee washed, bit of TCP, picked the gravel out, and on you go. And the havening technique used by people like Paul McKenna and PTSD tools, you know, for people that have suffered from deeper traumas, you know, trauma being something that knocks you off your feet. There's techniques where you cross your arms, because in energy, it strengthens the connection, and you soothe yourself by doing this, which is very akin to a mum cuddling you when you had that fall. So there you go. There's 2 instant quick tips there just for healing. And so that allows you to in some way reconnect to what this is that we're all part of, this big jigsaw, because we're all a piece. You know, I don't subscribe to the theory that there is one God, or one whatever your God might be for you. We are all a piece of it, and we are effectively one giant jigsaw, and we all have a specific part in it. When you put us all together, if we're willing to go in the same direction, we paint a magnificent picture. But if we insist on being unconscious and doing our own thing, allowing our mind to take us where we believe we are, and we attach to what our mind says is good or bad, in other words, we brainwash ourselves, sometimes that's confused because people don't understand that it's an alter ego sometimes within us, because we all have on some level and in some way a multi-personality presence within ourselves, because you do hear that inner voice, you know, the voice is within you. So it's really, really important that we understand that, and together when we paint this picture, we are all that is, which is consciousness.
Wow, I love that. I almost feel like you want to say drops mic, thank you, good evening, good night. That was really amazing. The kind of reply I've come to expect from you, Iain, now that you get everything and more questions, which is absolutely the way it should be. My goodness, so many people already resonating with what you're talking about, and what a lovely exercise that was. It kind of reminds me a little bit of the Reiki healing, that kind of self-healing you can do when you're in bed, when you put your hands on your heart, and actually it's such a simple thing to do, but it's really, really lovely and very comforting.
How about this? Another quick hijack, right? Okay, so it's my thing, right? But if you are ever feeling, ladies and gentlemen that are watching, you know, maybe you're at work and somebody's pressed your buttons, you know, because, you know, I'll be honest, my buttons get pressed and I have to deal with that stuff. And I'm only able to share the benefit of what I read in context as tools to give you if I've still got my stuff to deal with. I could have used another word there that began with S, but we don't do that live on air, you see. Gosh, you tell me off. But if you're ever feeling a little unsettled, you know, you can even at night, just before you go to bed, if you've had a particularly turbulent day or whatever, just put your left hand on your heart, that's giving, and put your right hand on top, and just sit there and breathe with that connection of just you with you, and just tell yourself that you love yourself, and just resonate with the feeling of love, and let that ripple through your body. And if you want to soothe yourself at any point, Just rub your hand clockwise, your left hand clockwise, as you place it on your heart. It's another PTSD technique, but it works. You'll feel good. You'll feel smooth. You'll be like that melted chocolate thing where we all go, you know, you feel that. It moves the energy within you, because stagnant energy is no good. If you're feeling something, you are what that is. So if you need to move beyond it, 2 things: change your thoughts and soothe yourself. You will change your mood just like that.
Wow. This is all such useful stuff. This kind of feels a little bit like those golden nuggets. So I'm really pleased this is all recorded, because I'm in the moment with you, talking to you, kind of sending you energy, sending you positivity, so that you can be the best you can and shine the brightest. And I need to go back sometimes and listen to all of this so I can do it myself. Really amazing stuff. Thank you. And I know that we discussed earlier talking about body scanning, which is something that I have recently rediscovered that I'd stopped doing. I'd fallen out of a habit. And I think it was probably brought to the surface more so during the whole start of lockdown, where it felt like my fight or flight was just running really hot. And I think it's the same for everybody that's out there, that you lose touch with your spiritual practice. So I know you're going to talk about body scanning and how to check in with the felt experience of being in your body. Could you talk a little bit more about that, if possible, and what we're going to do?
Well, I've got no choice now, and you've stitched me up. So it's flight or fight for me, isn't it?
Yeah.
Little spiritual joke there, everybody. But you know, I think the first thing to understand is that if you don't feel yourself, then quite clearly, logically, one has to say and be honest that, well, I'm not who I am, which means you've chosen to be something else. Because what's happened is you've allowed your mind to form a story and take you to another place. And here's the thing: you then identify with whatever that story is. So when you distract yourself, which is what goes on, and it's almost like losing your attention. There's a difference between daydreaming and drifting off. But if you distract yourself, or allow yourself to be distracted, and your mind's attached to this story that you then, you know, play out, and you sort of almost start to write a novel. You know, not only have you started to write, I wonder what they're up to now, you've filled in what they're doing, who they're doing it with, how many times they've done it, where they've been, where they've gone. You've written all the chapters to this book, and by that time you're a nervous wreck. And this is what we were talking about earlier on, you know, that monkey mind thing, which we'll come on to in a sec. But you know, when you allow yourself to get distracted like that, you know, it's a real thing to bring yourself back, because the more further away you go from yourself, the more effort you have to do to bring back. And that's why what they call mindfulness is very important, which is to be here now with a capital N, like Eckhart Tolle says in his book, The Power of Now. But what happens next is quite important. You see, because if you can see that you're drifting off, or if you become aware, then you're able to see that you're not the distraction that's playing out for you. And that's the easiest way to be able to bring yourself back, because you have an awareness. So although you might have created a mental idol or a mind identity with something, whatever that is, you are aware that you're able to break that connection far easier than if your mind is flipping out. And the slight difference between the two options there is the second one brings in obsessive compulsive thinking. That who are they doing, what they're doing it with, where have they been, we used to do this, we used to do that. You know, the classic thing in a relationship split that some of us do when we've suffered what is a deep trauma, you know, a deep what we consider as a rejection of our love for another, if we are on the receiving end, or however a trauma manifests itself for you. And that's a really different place to be, because you know, you have to get yourself into that moment of surrender. And if you don't do that, you're not able to let go, because we see all these lovely posts, ladies and gentlemen, around that sort of say, let it go, let it flow, you know, release it, surrender. But the problem is when you're attached so strongly to something, it's a lot of work to unstick yourself, not only from that, but to then get unstuck from the rut that you've held yourself in. So how do we do that? Well, we can do some body scanning in a moment, but what I would like to suggest is that you effectively, at a point in time, by hook, by crook, or through the work that you do, when you surrender to something and you accept the moment, each moment as it is, you do create that little break. And that's the break that I mentioned just a little while ago, that when you're separate from something and can see it, that's the break that you create when your mind's spinning. Because when you can accept the situation as it is, you do let go, you release the reins, or at the very least, you loosen your grip. So either way, you create a small space or a little space or a gap. And the greater the space, the more you allow yourself to be more conscious rather than unconscious, lost in the freewheeling of the bike, down the hill very quickly. And so you create what is called a point of choice by Gary Zukav, just that space where you can decide that you need to respond, not react, because it's not good for you. And your continuing reaction is actually causing you dis-ease, disharmony, and discomfort, because they are not one word. Dis-ease and discomfort means you're not at ease and you're not at comfort. Okay. And then you can create that illness in your body, and that's not good. And then the trick is to be aware of where that is within you, and then what you do with that.
Do you know what? That is so it's so interesting for me. But and you raise a really interesting point about so many different principles and practices and spiritual practices are almost about getting out of your body, about connecting, reaching, blending, getting out of your body through whichever mechanism or modality you use to do that. But actually, you have to be fully conscious and fully realized. Otherwise, you're just almost giving your consciousness away, for want of a better term. You're out of control with it.
And you've lost your focus, you see, because, it's a bit like your car has, gone off the road, or if you've ever taken your kids to a fair or a car boot sale and you get stuck in the mud. Well, what do? It's a really unconscious thing. We put our foot to the floor on the accelerator and our wheels spin, and what happens? We go nowhere and we dig ourselves a hole. That's what I mean getting stuck is. Because you see, if you're not on your way, if you're not being, if you're not living, then you're not experiencing. And I call life the label that goes on, if effectively at the end of your time on the earth, the label that we wrap up our time here with, that represents living. But living is the experiences that you've lived. And if you're not going on your way to where you need to be and allowing yourself to be guided, then what happens is you hear these people that say, I want to find my purpose. What's my purpose? And we get that question, don't we, Ashley? Asked. I'm sure you've had it. In times. So, there I was today preparing for the show. Ashley, given our last conversation, we'll call it that, right? And I got a download. I got one of those Oprah Winfrey aha moments, and it was like, whoa. And I got this. How about this, people? Just consider this, because so many of you consider yourselves lost. You can't find your purpose, like it's a set of car keys that you've left somewhere that you can't remember where it is. Understand this, perhaps, and consider it this way. Purpose isn't a place you go. Purpose is the place you live. And so being a way guide, and coming back to answering a question that in some way I didn't answer at the start, is to get on your way, knowing where you're going, is the resonance that you feel when you just know that you're being guided, and it's somewhere that pulls you, or that you can't leave behind, or you wake up eating, sleeping, thinking about it, go to bed thinking about it, waking up. It's so strong you can't not be it. And that is your purpose. And so therefore, what a lot of the great speakers, books, and myself and people that I include in this will say is, your emotions are not a coping mechanism to deal with where you're not. Okay? Please prick up your ears. What they are is they're like a parking sensor when you're going to back into an object. They go off to let you know that you've drifted off of your way.
Yeah.
If you drift off of your way and you have no warning, you're going to crash. So they are like a spiritual parking sensor that goes beepity beep beep beep. Did you like that?
It was good.
Yeah, it's not bad, is it? Okay. And it lets you know that you've got to pay some attention to yourself, self with a capital S. Your energy is all out of whack. You're all over the place, and you need to bring yourself back on track. It's your inner alarm clock. And it's your calling you back to you, so you can come back about to where you truly are.
Wow. So I've got a question. It's all of what you said, just when you're saying it, and that's how I they're just the droplets of wisdom that come through, and it all resonates, and you find yourself nodding like a nodding dog, going yes, and you feel it in your heart. You think, this feels like it's just resonating. It's just resonating. What kind of came first? Was it your interest in self-development and working on yourself and going to the depths and the peaks and the hard yards? Or was it your interest in spiritual mediumship and communication and that side? Because we haven't even talked about that yet. Or did it kind of come together? That's my question.
Well, I consider myself unique. My parents always said I was odd. Hey, you know, same meat, different gravy, right?
Genius. We call that genius.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's right. Bespoke is the kind word, is what we call that, isn't it? But you know, it was quite funny because apparently, as a baby in the cot, I looked very similar at that point, no hair, and this was bringing a bit of humour there. But you know, I used to thrash around and apparently do some strange stuff, and like animals sometimes do, you know, stare at the corner of the room and sometimes wonder what was going on in there. And even as a kid growing up, you know, I would look at things, and then I would sort of have this awareness of people standing at the end of my bed, and who's this old lady that keeps looking at me and talking to me, and walked up the side of my bed and sat next to me. And then, quite frankly, the interest in self or self-development and personal growth came was because I was broken. You know, I'm not ashamed to say that, and I have my stuff to deal with. We all have our stuff. Because, you know, like I said at the start, we're all part of a jigsaw. If we all share our experiences, there will not be the same, but there will be overlaps. They will overlay. There will be like the two circles in maths that do that. That intersection in the middle is where you get a bit out of my bit that you can resonate with, because it's the spark to the flame that allows you to get going for yourself. It's that fuel that allows you to light your fire and get on your way. So I had a trigger to help me fix my triggers, and then I realized that I was able to do and feel better within myself by applying some techniques, reading certain books, and taking inspiration from mentors. And then I stumbled into a spiritualist church, and it all went from there.
And so, would you mind just kind of, what was that experience all about? And did it bring up did you remember things? And I'm really interested because you sound like a very intuitive child. That, again, you talk about that Venn diagram. I can completely visualize a same story with me when I was little. My mum, who probably watched later on, that said that I used to wake up when there was a lady in the room, and my mum, who's a medium, could see the lady kind of recede when I started crying. So talk to me about your experience going into a spiritualist church.
Well, I'd actually not long separated from my son's mum, and we're still good friends, which is nice. And she was here earlier, in fact. And you know, it was a time where we weren't always at our best, and inevitably that does happen when we have those emotional splits. You know, it's a bit like trying to pull a chicken, isn't it? Eventually it kind of splits, but in the pulling of the chicken, it flies off and lands on the floor, and it's no good to either of you. And that's quite symbolic for really what happens when we don't kind of go in the same direction, or somebody doesn't rise above the other or step back or whatever, because you'll just get that continual friction. So I was a little bit messed up emotionally, and I went to see a medium and had a reading, and ended up in this local spiritualist church, which is Crawley Spiritualist Church in Gossip's Green. And recounting the story to my mum afterwards, she said, yeah, I went there in my 20s. I went, what? Wow. And then I found out some crazy stuff in the village that I grew up in, just outside of Crawley, that there was some weird goings on in Copthorne village, where there was a lot of people that were mediums and spiritual people. And I said, hang on, where did all this come from? So, and so basically I knew that there was a seed within me that I was, and I quickly understood that it wasn't that there was a seed within me, I was the seed. So it had never not been part of me. So people say, how long have you been a medium? I say, well, my soul is eternal, so I've never not.
I love that. I've
never not, because, you know, that's what I came here to do. And I share different thoughts and feelings, perhaps, to some people, but I don't do perhaps so much the past life things. I am, and if my soul is eternal, then whatever I am that I'm a piece of, that's broken off to be here right now in this sort of shell suit, this human shell suit, then That's the bit that's come to explore, to go through the karmic obligations of the soul. Karma, I love that. There's so many people that get a funny twist on that. I sit there and I watch these posts on certain social media sites, and they say karma is a so-and-so, it will come back and get you and all of that. No, that's a will for a righteous retribution on another, so that they suffer in the way that you judge and deem that they should suffer for the way you call the harm they've done to you. Wow. Please don't ask me to repeat that, because that ain't going to happen. But that's it. The karmic obligations of the soul are the unlearned lessons, what we're here to master, that we've chosen to come down to go through, the living experience, that we use the tools, so that when we kind of go back home, per se, when we depart the physical and, we regroup in our soul, we're ready to go on to the next chapter. But that's a personal spin. You may not all share that view, and that's absolutely fine. But the church then brought out in me what came out as Iain the medium, that part of my personality, which is, as I did a promotional video at the Hippodrome in London at the start of the year, and my friend, she's a yogini, she asked me, well, what are you here to do? And I just said, heal the world. And she laughed, and she said, that's just the best answer. And it's not egoic in the sense that, hey, put a gold halo around me. But I meant it, and my face was deadpan, and I mean that now sincerely, because whatever it is that I came here to do and contribute to, I want to get busy with that. And so my church career, per se, if you like, just took off. I went through my usual circles, and then my lovely friend, I need to credit her, Vicky DeProse, offered to take me out on the road, a very well-known medium. I love her to pieces, and it just never happened. My way just found me. We met each other. And because we met, we went on our way together, and I've just taken the path that I have, and here I am.
Wow. And here you are. I love that. And I really appreciate what you said, and the way you said it, without all of the many layers of self-judgment and spiritual kicking that we can do for ourselves. When you very simply said, I'm here to heal the world, in its purest form, that is all of our function. I believe all of our function, to do our own little bit, and by doing that we'll all get there. So I believe you were completely right with what you said, but you know what, sometimes it's really difficult, isn't it? We go, oh, I can't say that, oh, I can't shine too brightly, oh, I can't say too much. I love that.
But there's a difference, you see. When you glow, arguably that's the allowing of what's within you to come out. If you try to shine, there's a Stoic saying that says, those who try to outshine others dim their own light. And the other saying that goes with that is 5 colors blind the eye. Because if you make up a story about what you are and go for it, you kid yourself, because you narrow the only things that are possible for you, all that can be achieved, and you create a limit in a limitless environment. Well, that doesn't make a lot of sense to me. Some might say the cheese has slid off your cracker. To quote the saying out of the Green Mile. But I love it because it's like, why would that be like somebody saying you could have a never-ending cup of tea? Here's a wish for you. You can have one of those. And if somebody gives you another wish, there's no point ordering another one, is there? It's absolutely bonkers. So but I still do that even today. And what happens is that my vibrational energy, which is my resonance that I'm aware of, when I am aligned with that and feel it, because I'm empowered when I am aligned, I know when I'm off. So when I talked about those parking sensors earlier on, I literally feel it go flat, or it's like somebody blows the candle out, and I know I need to find my way back to myself and come back about where there's only love. And when I do that, and that's why I said earlier on about when that trauma hits you, however mild, meek, or deep it is, sometimes we all need to soothe, and that's just a way of saying it's okay, you got this, I love you, and you come back to yourself, and it's so beautiful.
Wonderful, thank you. My goodness me, we've covered so much ground. I feel like we've traveled across universes already. So lovely. And lovely Helen is on, my very good friend Helen. And when you're talking about karma and dharma and that whole principle, I was hoping Helen would be on, and she's on. She's really, thank you for your eloquence and talking about self-love.
Thank you.
And heal others. And she's also suggesting that you bring out a book of quotes or spiritual quotes, Iain. She's enjoying all of your spiritual quotes.
Helen, if you want to be my manager in this, we'll go 50-50, whatever it is, You never know. Send the intention out. You never know what happens. I don't know who you know, but hey, man, give it a whirl.
Have your people call her people. I love that. I love that. Thank you so much.
But thank you for your kind words. But it's the body scanning bit that's really interesting, because it's all very well talking about love and light, peace and let go and heal the world. But what I found is, like my show, if I'm allowed to plug it, on Spiritual Psychics TV. Oops, a daisy, just done that. Might as well carry on. Is there's the cheek. There's a personality of the mischievous Ian, the scampish Ian that's inside. But I wanted to link together practical ways where we could do this. Is it all 100% right? There is no right, because if you do that, then you create duality by having a right and wrong. But you see, there is only feeling, or there is only experience. There's no good or bad experience. If you're going to go through life like that, you're going to disappear like the bath water, swirling around and round and round until, as my lovely dad says, you disappear up your own trouser leg. That's the polite version. Because you are already distracting yourself and separating yourself from source, your divine source creator, whatever it is for you, by suggesting that there is something else, rather than staying in the vibration of the high energy. Like when you listen to music, I find this interesting, and it may not be relevant, but I was just in the car the other day, and you see the different radio stations, don't you? You pick one, there might be one at, I don't know, 124 megahertz on FM.
Yeah.
But one of the highest frequencies of music, if you go on to sort of music providers and things, is 963 megahertz. Yeah. 963. So if nobody quite understands why things aren't good for us, or we limit our thought to what we receive, well, you've got music that's there played to the masses that everyone rushes out to buy and download and goodness knows what, and the other one's way up here. Well, if I just make that analogy, that says something. Is it popular? Of course not. But if you listen to it, your soul resonates with it. It might not be pleasing to the ears, but your soul is happy. Yeah. So you don't have that spiritual deprivation. You top yourself up. Why? Because it's what you need. If you eat the wrong foods, the moment on the lips, lifetime on the hip, that's it. I know nobody ever craves a salad, in the sense that if there's a nice bit of gatto in the fridge, but actually, if you stand in the fridge and just say to yourself, another little tool here, I call this fridge raiding. If you think you're hungry, that fateful time at 8 o'clock at night, we're a little bit bored, we're watching the TV, and you say, I think I need crisps. No, that's you giving yourself permission to be irresponsible, and your unconscious self overriding your consciousness of you, your higher self, knowing what is needed. So if you walk to the fridge and open the fridge and you go, oh, I'm bored, I've all done it, right? I've eaten the chocolate, guilty, yeah, that's me. and I'm standing there, if I open the fridge, how many of you have stood there and spent there enough time at the open fridge until the alarm goes off, which tells you to shut the fridge door because you can't find what you're looking for? The key there is you don't need anything. You might think you do and you eat it, but what happens if you do? You eat it and you go, I don't think I needed that. Hello, you could have missed out in the middle bit.
Yeah.
You could have missed out the suffering, because whatever that is for you in your life, in your living moments, in each now. So if you've got a boss who's being particularly niggled that day for whatever the reason might be, and you're not going to get any rationality out of them at all, they're not minded to meet you in the middle or to hear your side of the story, it's not going to happen. So you have three choices. You either stay with it, change it, or leave it. Yeah. In other words, you might recognize that as setting boundaries. And although and it's really, really important, because if you also release that from you, and the way that I do it, I actually use the God reference myself, because it's just a routine I've got into. I silently say goodbye, God bless, good luck, and that's my release, letting go. But I can be with peace when I've done that. I've made the peace, because there's no disharmony in any of that, because it's all well intended. Yeah. So it's the higher vibration, and it's love.
There's so much in that, and we definitely need longer than an hour. There's so much. There's again, we keep coming back to that body awareness and being present, and not using other devices as a means to escape or numb or suppress or to fill an energetic hole or gap that we perceive within ourselves, some form of lack through something external. But also talking about forgiveness as a way of self-healing is really beautiful, the way you just described that. So I know we've spoken about it a couple of times, and people are really keen to get on board. Hello, Letty, who's talking about self-care and self-nourishment and being more about food, less about food and more about the soul and emotion, which is a really beautiful way to put it. So could we get back to this whole body scanning thing, this really good tool to kind of get in touch, and I'm completely sold on it, but would you mind just kind of very kindly walking us through how you would approach that?
Be my pleasure. But may I just say one thing first? And it's another quote, ladies and gentlemen, but it is one of mine. It was I say it's mine, it was downloaded to me, it's loaned to me. But the first thing in all of this is forgiveness, because we have to create the space to allow ourselves to be in that stillness, the silence of allowing. Because if you're constantly spinning with your mind or whatever, and it's typically we say we're wrong, I messed that up, I screwed that up, I made a right dog's breakfast of that, or whatever it is, that's the program that you're selling to yourself, and you're only too keen to buy it. The irony of this living experiences is we love to buy suffering and not joy. It's a bizarre thing. We'd rather get stuck in the misery than the joy. Go figure. But forgiveness is the key to the door that allows love to enter your house. Beautiful. Forgiveness is the key to the door that allows love to enter your house. That's my way of saying, I love you, it's okay, don't worry. Do try that at home. Just close your eyes, not necessarily now, but just do that, practice that. And it just creates that little space where you can say it's okay. And in that okay, it's a crack. It's a crack. And on any emotion that comes from any of the exercises that we share together today, sometimes the crying comes, or you feel the ripple of emotions. That's all good. The release is all good. And I love this saying for you. The crying is letting the healing waters flow, because you always feel better afterwards. You sick it up. You leach it out. You don't hold on to it. And you need to create that space. So the body scanning comes in now, because this is an interesting exercise. I'm going to invite you all just to join me and work with me and trust me and see where we go. And I'd love to invite you just to get comfortable, get settled, wiggle your hips, roll your shoulders, and just start to sit comfortably and let your breath settle. Okay, and just take 3 breaths for me, in through the nose and out through the mouth, if you're able to. Obviously, if you're driving, listening to this, or whatever you're doing, please, please, please don't do that. Watch the replay. If you're cutting the meat with a bacon slicer or an electric knife, don't start closing your eyes. We don't want you down A&E. There's the insurance disclaimer, okay? But in all seriousness, I just invite you just to come closer with yourselves, just sitting in that space. So, and just taking a few deep breaths like that will allow your soul to settle. And as you do that, I just want you to soften your gaze, just sit, look ahead of you, and just be aware and notice anything and everything about you, your energy, what's going through your mind, any change of emotion or energy within you, rushing around, the blood rushing, anything like that for you, goosebumps breaking out, the thoughts that are racing through about turning the oven off or cooking a dinner after this, whatever it is for you. Now, just very, very gently, take a breath in for me through your nose. And as you breathe out, just gently close your eyes and sigh and go, in that release. And now just breathe in and out with your eyes shut. And for the rest of the time until I bring you back, just keep your eyes closed. Now, some of you may be aware that from the eyes open to the eyes closed, and I'm keeping my eyes closed because I'm sharing this experience with you, okay, you'll be aware of just that shift in energy where you suddenly tune in very quickly, very strongly to what's going on inside. And I'm going to invite you to become aware of where you effectively feel good and where you feel light and where you feel heavy, where you feel a bit dark. Maybe you feel a bit in your tummy, in your belly area there, maybe in your heart, because it varies for each one of us with what's going on for us, with us and around us and about us in each moment. So just with your eyes closed, just be aware where the energy moves. Just notice where it's lighter in your body and darker in your body. Now, wherever it might feel darker for you, so if it's in your sacral chakra, so just below your tummy button there, Okay, if you feel it down there or in your heart, it may well be relevant to what's going on around you. Your heart, love and connected relationships. And in your sacral chakra, there is just relationship or relationships in the fullest sense of the word, your connection with everything and everyone, etc. Okay, and if that resonates with you and makes sense, okay, I just would like you to notice that probably I'm suggesting your darkness is more noticeable than your light. And that's a good thing, because your attention is going to what you need to heal for you, so that you can come back in that perfect alignment, to be totally balanced and calibrated, to stay aligned and empowered from that source energy, so you can go about on your way. So in other words, you've got something to fix, a dent to knock out, if you please. So sitting in that darkness, I would just like you to imagine that there you are, your higher self, the big you, the YOU in capitals, and there you are, and you're aware of that heaviness. And I just like you to imagine that that's a room you're sitting in on a chair, and now you decide that this isn't comfortable for you, and so you decide to stand up. So you get up out the chair and you walk into a lighter area, wherever that might be for you. And as you walk into this lighter area, you start to feel, as you transition from the darkness and into the light, you feel it actually feeling a little easier. You feel you can move more easily. And as you walk into the light, you take a seat there and you sit in the light. Now, here's the thing that I'd like you to try, if you would. Just please take a breath in, but imagine that you're breathing in the light and exhaling the light. Breathe in the light and exhale the light. And sigh as you will, just let go. Okay, and just notice how you begin to feel a little lighter. You may even shed a tear, you may feel the energy whizzing around in your head, but it should be very different to what you were experiencing before. And just say to yourself, repeat out to yourselves in your mind, not out aloud, but to yourself, I feel good. This is what good feels like. I am well and I am okay. I know I don't need to suffer, and I choose to make myself better. I choose to heal myself. And I'd like to invite you to stand so strongly in that light where it feels so good that you almost now are finding it very difficult to not feel good. And you see this lightness expanding throughout your body, taking over your whole body, over the darkness, passing through it. There's no resistance. It's like a hot knife through butter passing through it. And all of a sudden, you're able to literally see your whole body becoming light, shining bright. So much so that you're not able to feel that dull ache of the darkness that you felt before. It's dissolved, it's gone. And as you see your magnificent self and your physical body in that divine state of pure light, just breathe in and breathe out and just say, I feel fantastic. I feel good. I am enough. I am the greatest. And I'm a gifted and talented soul here sending out my love and light into the universe for the good and great of everyone, so I can share it with all, so we can all get better together. And just breathe in and out and just feel that tingling within you. And just when you're ready, just bring a slight movement to your body, wiggle your fingers and toes, gently open your eyes very softly and allow your gaze just to come back into the room. And equally, now you've opened your eyes again, just notice how you feel now with your eyes open after that exercise, to how you started with your eyes opened and the various transitions that you went in throughout that experience. And light up the comments if you were moved. Let Ashley and I know whether that moved you, whether that grooved you. You know, you should have felt like you were trying to kiss the end of Mike Tyson's fist in a boxing match. You know, it should have moved you that much. But please light up the comments, you know, share experiences if you're happy to do that with everybody, and we'll see what happens. And if you've got any questions, please feel free to put them in the comments as well. And I hope you enjoyed it. I hope it moved you.
Thank you so much, Iain. That was something that is really useful for so many reasons. And it's like you say, it's really quick. It's that intention, moving the mind, moving the consciousness. You know, we have the sovereignty of our own energy. Yeah. I love that. I love that.
What you did is, the beauty actually in everybody is that it was quick. You know, you can trick it around in a heartbeat. If you're having a bad day at work, you know what I used to do? Okay, hands up again. if I was having a bit of a tough time, because the experiences that come to me for me to master aren't always, well, they're less well, I'd take myself off into the loo. You can practice this routine, and as you get more familiar with it, it becomes quicker and quicker. It becomes seamless. Sometimes you can sit at your desk and just close your eyes, and you can do it in that heartbeat as well. But it is just so powerful. Wow. It's energy amplification, and you've chosen not to suffer in the darkness. You've made a conscious choice to take an action, a massive action, to break the habitual pattern of the choices and behaviors and actions that you have been carrying out in your lifetime for some times that keep you in a bigger darkness for you, perhaps. And what I'm suggesting to you is, if you expand that practice to other areas of your life, you can literally turn your life around. It's deeper than what we've just done.
I think the visualization for me, the thing for me that really caught and really resonated and I felt in my heart, was when you said stand up from the chair and move out of the darkness into the light. And I thought, why am I trying to stay in the energy that's not helpful and send light into it, when actually we can just stand and move. We choose to respond rather than react, because the habitual patterns that keep us there, we effectively say, it's not my fault, I don't know what to do. So effectively we choose to do nothing and react as we've always learned to do. And we all do it in daily life. I still do it, ladies and gentlemen. I'm not some ultimate enlightened guru. I drop my ball, okay? And I have to learn to pick that up and sort that out sometimes. But this is how we do it. So when we respond, we make a conscious choice, and we feel better, because nothing that we are wants us to suffer, because we're not of use to each other if we're in the darkness suffering. We can't shine our light onto another. Oh my goodness, that's so wonderful. And it kind of chimes in with the discussion I was having with my good friend Helen last night, who's on, and I've spoken to Letty about this and talked about you this morning, about just being where we are with our own things, our own stuff that we're bringing, making a pledge to try and do the best we can to shine a light on that and help ourselves so that we can be of service to others. And be that way shower. I love that. I'm loving that phrase. That terminology is lovely. Yeah,
because we can't teach anybody. You see, the benefit of tools, and you know where this is going next, right? The benefit of the tools are practical, and we like things that are tangible, don't we? As in our human form, we want to touch it, feel it, because we can do something with it. If you spoke at somebody for an hour about this stuff, rather than gave them half a dozen tools to go away and play with, break, put back together, hopefully not break yourselves, but sometimes that happens, and that's the reason you've got the tools. But there's a lovely little quote. I don't know if you're able to get that up, or does technology not allow it. Do you remember our little quote?
I can't get the quote up, unfortunately, but I will share it.
Yes, we can put it in the comments. It's from
Mr.
Fuller, and you'll love it. But the reason that we want to put it up as a slide is, again, it's something tangible that you can take away when you come back and revisit the comments. And if you'd like to rewatch the show and just practice the routines, because we appreciate that when you're getting this firsthand, it's almost like I'm speaking at 1,000,000 miles an hour, which I'm not. But with a limited time to pass a message on, we need to move with some pace forward.
Yeah.
Enjoy
Beautiful. Thank you. So many amazing comments. What I would say, Ian, is go back and actually read the comments afterwards, because so many people are actually feeling really tangible, physical, energetic shifts, things changing, things reacting in their body. Such a useful exercise. So I suppose I want to kind of, we've touched on cause and effect. We've touched on so many things. But for you, as someone who works on the edges with people, somebody who works with people who are dealing with their own things, which may come to light as a result of coming to you on the surface for a reading. I'm coming for a reading, and actually as you get into it, there's other things happening.
Yes.
What advice would you have for people who are light workers, healers, spiritual mediums, developing their spiritual gifts, the whole myriad of ways we can be of service? As someone who's kind of a way shower for people, what kind of edges and what is coming up for you, and what advice would you give in the kind of vibration that we're in?
I would say, first of all, get out of your own way would be my first piece of advice. So it would be that surrender, because gifts that I'm blessed, that I say are loaned to me, won't come to me if I don't open the door, because I can't receive them. It's like inviting somebody round to your house and just waving at them through the little visitors pane there, or the little vision panel, you know, and they want to come in, but you're not letting them in. So get out of your own way. And the reason that I say that is not to be disrespectful, but it's allow yourself to create the space where you can connect back with yourself, be who you are, so that what can come for you, to you, and through you, that, by the way, is around you in each moment, so that thy will and not mine be done. So you're in that state of allowing, will be at its peak. So the point of sharing that with you is because whenever you are at a place, you should always ask yourself this question: how does it feel for me? What do I feel guided to do here? Yeah. For the good and great of this person, people, place, situation, whatever it might be. Yeah. Why is that important? Because you are setting an intention and sending a prayer, and being perfectly aligned with the right intent, you launch it up. Yeah. And that's really, really beautiful. The sort of the pre-race prep, if you like, that I do is, for me, I lie down. I don't do so well meditating, sitting up. All the right schools will say you need a vertical spine, but it doesn't work for me. I need to lay down on the bed with my palms up in a receiving mode. But you know what? That's just the way it works for me. But effectively, when I get out of my own way and I set the intention that I'm here to do whatever it is I need to do for this person, this situation, or to send a blessing out, then my intention and the energy that I send out, and my attention, energy goes where attention flows, right? So energy flows where attention goes. I'll get it right in a minute. Forgive me. Yeah. So energy goes where whatever that was, it's gone now again. I'm in the flow. So there it is. And wherever your attention goes, and that's what you literally buy, you buy that experience. And the reason that you get tired is that if you're not in the right space and place, if you're trying to get a message rather than allowing what you feel is coming for you and trusting and sharing that, then your mind will take you off on a little detour there, creating another story, because, you know, in the trying, there's no allowing, and therefore you block out what's coming for you, which is what the person needs. And it's not for you to decide what that person needs. And I'm not suggesting that you have a bad intent, but what I am suggesting is that it's like collateral damage. You're almost denying them by deciding what they should have, although you're not doing it like that. And I appreciate that. But in essence, that's what's happening. So you have to trust yourself in that allowing. And sometimes, you know, we start readings. Sometimes I don't know who a communicator is. That might be relevant to the personality that was there. But what happens is there's always a hook where something resonates, and bam, that's that turning point. But if you don't allow yourself to experience that or get there, quite often you can, you know, be the master dictating how successful or not a reading might be. So trust, because quite often that's a lesson for you on a wider area of your life as well, not just about the reading or the healing or whatever it is that you're doing to heal another.
Wow. Okay. Goodness, lots of resonance. I could kind of feel that a bit like a sucker punch, left, right, and center coming, with lots of really deep resonances there. So trust in the process. Recognize, I'm just paraphrasing and summarizing all of the goodness that has happened in this hour. So recognize when your emotional parking sensors and how they operate and what they mean for you, and get in tune with that. Learn how to recognize your own energy within your own body, and how that feels when you're in alignment, and then use that as your kind of your marker. And then trust and release, and try not to control too much in the way that your gifts are manifest, because, as you quite rightly say, there is a whole variety of spiritual gifts there, and we shouldn't channel ourselves to say, this is why my mediumship works, this is the way it always works, or this is how I want it to work, and just allow it to come.
And that's the thing, we're effectively going through life almost on a tightrope. Yeah. And our safety net underneath, as I touched on earlier on, is our emotions. So just in case, you know, we lose ourselves at some point, or we drift off of our way, we all do that, right? You know, that happens sometimes. Yeah. It shows us as a lesson that we need to be more focused. I mean, I don't do the mindfulness thing. I actually go with mindlessness. You know, the film The Last Samurai talks about when Tom Cruise needs to master his moves, and his kata, and his swordsmanship, you know, one of the characters says the best mind to have is no mind. So in a state of mindlessness, our cup is empty, and therefore we can have full capacity. It's neither half full nor half empty. It's ready to receive everything that comes to us. And the Buddhists have a lovely saying: to taste my tea, you first have to empty your cup. It's the same thing. But if you ever find yourself with strong emotional senses, pulls, or experiences, you may well have dropped off of the tightrope there, but don't worry, the safety net has caught you. And your emotions then show you through the energy and where you feel that in your body, how it's changing, how things aren't working out for you. You're actually being telegraphed to where you need to pay attention and get yourself back in harmony, so that you can almost climb back up the ladder and re-walk the tightrope again. So your emotions are one of your greatest gifts, your greatest teachers too, because they show you what you need to do. So life technically isn't difficult. It's just a choice that we choose to suffer, and we all do that. We all do that.
Wow. And we give over control to our emotions, and we feel helpless. Emotions are in the driving seat and not being used as that pressure sensor, as you described it. That's really important. And do you know what? I'm resonating back for all of the times that I was maybe told I'm too sensitive and too emotional, and I'm thinking, I've got a different reflection on that now. And actually, it's the emotion that is utilized, is bringing the gift.
Absolutely. And you know, you will be able to feel another, you know, because as they say, perception is a mirror, not a fact. So Maya Angelou always said, when people show you who they are, believe them. And so quite often what we're doing is we're lobbing our baggage at somebody else to say, I'm not what I want to be that I see in you. And a very quick story is Les Brown, the motivational speaker, when he was sort of chasing around the circuit to go and watch all the great speakers to get the experience to learn what he needed to do, because that was his calling, something he felt he just needed to master. He went to watch many people, and he went to one speaking event, and he sat down, and he was on his own, and he was sitting next to another fellow who was also on his own, and they struck up a conversation. Hello, how are you? All the niceties, yada yada. And they were watching this guy do his speech, and the speech ended, and this fellow turned to Les and said, hey mate, what did you think to that speech? And he said, being truthful, I really didn't think it was that good. And he went, oh, that's my brother-in-law. So at that point, obviously in Les's mind, I'm sure the air went quite blue. All that he was describing himself with, many adjectives, I'm sure. And eventually, obviously, this speaker came down off of the stage, came over to his brother-in-law, they were chatting. And not in an unkind way, but the story goes that this chap said to his brother-in-law, he didn't think you were very good. This is a very powerful lesson. What's coming next? I'm guilty of this myself. This will knock your socks off. So please prick up your ears. Because the speaker said, you know what, Les? You're right. I'm not the best, and I know that. But did you know I earned $5,000 for that speech? And Les said, well, I can do better than that. So in other words, there was the belief in Les that he knew what he was capable of, but wasn't doing. Lesson number one. How about this for lesson number two? The speaker said, Les, the reason that I'm up there and you're down here is because I represent the things that you have already rejected for yourself. Bang. He says that and knocked him off of his feet.
Wow.
That's the block that we put up. That is it.
My goodness, I felt that energetically. I felt the energy behind that. That was amazing.
Yeah. Don't let anybody tell you who you are and who you're not. No.
My goodness. Hopefully you all felt that, and you all kind of you all resonating with some of the things that Iain's saying. And I know it's been an action-packed hour, and I know that there has been so much that has almost been kind of delivered that you're trying to catch. So please do go back and watch this again. And Iain, where can people find you? And I know you've already mentioned it, but you've got your Monday SPTV, and where else can people find you?
Well, I'm always doing dems here and there across Spiritual Psychics TV as it is now. I've got my own Facebook page, which is @medium Iain Mason. You can find me there. You can find me across all the usual social media offenders as well. My website is www.iainmason.com, but please don't forget Iain is spelled IAIN, and it's all one word. And you can look me up, you can send me a message, you can book more sort of introspective, I call it introspective, looking at ourselves and how we can work together to move you to the next place that you need to be, and awaken you to your calling, your purpose, find and awaken you so that it's a place that you're living, not a place to go to, and all that good stuff we touched on earlier in the show. We can do that together, or you can have a good old-fashioned reading in whatever form that you might like. So there you go.
It has been an absolute pleasure. And do you know what? I have thoroughly enjoyed it. I've thoroughly enjoyed being in your energy and just the gems that have been kind of cascading down for me. Thank you for everybody that's been here this evening. And I know that there's been so many amazing comments. We haven't had time. If I haven't said hello to you, I'm so sorry. But people that have joined, don't worry, you have not joined late. You can go back and watch the replay from the beginning. For everyone that's joined this evening, contributed, been here, been in this moment, been in this energy, and for everybody who shared it and sent it to people who need to hear these words, who were in that place where there's something that you've heard that you think, I know the person in my mind's eye that needs to hear this, and thank you for sending that on into the future for the people that need to hear it. Thank you.
Yeah.
Amazing. Iain, I'm a well-earned cup of tea for you. You've worked incredibly hard. It's such a joy to have you here. And I'm sure it won't be the last time that we see you here on a Friday evening. And for everybody who has loved Iain's work, he's going to be operating on a different vibration, a different modality. He's back this weekend. It's another double weekender where we have Iain with us on Sunday evening over on the church Facebook page, which is the Light Christian Spiritualist Church Weymouth, doing the suited and booted demonstration of Sunday. It's going to be a Sunday service, a philosophy and inspiration service. So if you want to hear more of Iain, he'll be back at 6:15 on Sunday evening. We'll put the link at the bottom. Super. Thank you so much, Iain. We're going to let you go and get a cup of tea. Thank you so much for being with us, and thank you everybody who's been here this evening.
Okay. I'm really grateful and deeply appreciative, and I hope some of you are tingling. I hope that's really kind of got you going and motivated. And if you've got that inspiration, inspire others. Reach one, teach one. Go for it. Share it. Tag a friend.
Love that. Beautiful. Thank you so much, Iain. Thank you everybody who joined us.
Bye, everyone.
Have a good weekend. See you later. Bye, everybody.